Good afternoon, my friends on YouTube. This is politics. Um, so I have a few things that I want to say because was prepared for next 4 years of having no politics in my life. And to be truthful, I was looking forward to it. Now, it's very interesting to me that as I and many, many, many others back away from politics, given the volatile, shadowy occurrences over the last year, um, it looks like Europe is picking up where MAGA has left off. So I want to take a minute and I want to talk about it. Now then, White and Case is a publication that it's not it's not an easy read, but it is one that I enjoy because of the international influence, the writers. It's definitely a serious publication you can find online, um, and you're not going to have people waving flags and wearing do-rags on their head and lighting cars on fire. These are the elites. These are let me say the academic elites. These are people having discussions about the rapidly changing, rapidly evolving, some would say in fact devolving state that we find ourselves in culturally, politically, and certainly economically as a result of the fight against globalism, okay? Or the fight for globalism. Whitecase.com is going to give you a variety of positions, and these people are brilliant, and they hold they hold positions of high power across the globe. So Nouriel Rubini posted something way back in 2017, and as I was reading this article, uh, basically commenting on the economic recovery that we were enjoying in the 2017, obviously led by President Trump, and his alliances with Europe and uh, England. And the globalists were very unhappy by all that began to unfold. They had the globalists do use there are few people at the top of the spear that they have reached a level of self-actualization that they think about the bigger picture and the influence across the board. The greatest majority of people are at the bottom of the spear, where they're fighting for their families, they're fighting for their communities, they're fighting for their states, they're fighting for their country, and they're fighting for their continent. It's much more molar in terms of what's in it for me, whereas the people at the top of the spear are more like this whole JFK thing, not ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And it was actually this tip of the spear problem, this self-actualization, if you will, that is seen by the group of people at the United Nations, World Health Organization, the people that would be considered the very top of their field. They're generally quite brilliant. They generally have plenty of financial resources, so they don't know what it's like to be hungry or to worry about how they're going to pay their electricity bill. And these are the people that are making the macro, that they're making decisions that can affect the macro landscape, the rather than worrying about your local uh, economy. They're worried about the continental economy. How's China going to interact with England and so forth? One of the things I think I was that I ever saw from Barack Obama, there were a lot of things I disagreed with. Some things I agreed with him about, but there were a lot of things I disagreed as well. But one of the worst choices, most appalling things that he ever did that really garnered zero attention in the United States, because the news people, the journalists, they don't give a damn about we the people. They like to say we are self-actualized. We're part of the Rockefellers and we're at the top of the spear. No, you're not. You're tools to people like the Rockefellers. But and so there's a lot of misplaced loyalty, I think, with mainstream media. And so they didn't cover this egregious thing that Barack Obama did. But I follow world politics and I in England, and so I knew about it when it happened, just because the Australia, you can get good news out of Australia still. Some of the Great Britain newspapers, but the egregious thing that Barack Obama did is that when they were having the first of 7 votes in the country to leave the European Union, Barack Obama stepped right in the middle of it before the vote. I'm talking about within hours of the vote occurring. Now, you saw what they did to President Trump, that a telephone call with the Ukraine saying, hey, we want to work with you. Everything's going great. And would you please look into corruption coming from the United States? That was grounds for impeachment. And they acted like, a president interfering in another country, that is you draw the line. It's the worst of the worst. It's unacceptable. But Barack Obama, their little sweetheart, their little love child, Barack Obama actually told England, the voters, think carefully before you cast your vote to leave the European Union, because, in a nutshell, you will be shut out of trade. No one will buy your fish. No one will sell you technological goods. England will become a forgotten country, and you will have nothing coming in and nothing will be going out, and you will all die a dusty, lonely, sad, poverty-stricken, famine-infested life until you decide to join with the global community again. Yeah, that's right. Barack Obama did that. Absolutely. It was egregious. He should have been impeached. He should have been run out of town on rails, and it was overlooked. Just like the money, the cash, the American dollars that they took out of your paycheck. He loaded those piles of dollar bills and sent them to Iran. What for what? What are you going to use money for? Well, I'm sure it bought a nice, beautiful little mansion with some golden uh, uh, water faucet handles. I've seen them. They exist in the Middle East. So the reason that our founding fathers said the press has to remain free of influence and prosecution They got to be free to investigate and put their stories out there, because that is what is going to, number one, keep the politicians on their toes and towing the line. If a politician knows, hey, if I take this $4 billion from China while my son is all messed up on, white chalky things and smoky things, if I take this money and I use it to build shitty houses and then turn around and sell those houses for a $100 million profit, if I do that, an investigative journalist will report that. It will be published. I cannot bring charges against them for slander, and then I won't get any votes because the people will be horrified that I am so unprincipled and immoral. So the first step of the corrupt is to control the media. And our mainstream media, unfortunately, has been purchased and bought through financial gain, through social influence, being invited to the big parties. They've been bought hook, line, and sinker, and they're not on the side of we the people. They are now part of the elite. They believe they are now part of the head tip of the spear. It used to be where people were really, really proud of being we the people, but we got complacent. And it wasn't just in the United States, it was in many, many countries. It's not only the United States that is experiencing a very powerful populist resurgence. It is happening everywhere. And that was a long road, tangential, informative road to get us back to the point of this podcast, and that is that Italy has folded. Now here we are, we suffered a very perplexing, confusing defeat when Donald Trump was not reelected. It appears that ballots from suitcases are perfectly legal and appropriate as long as it happens when no one is there to watch. Okay, and they can't do it if someone's there to watch, then it's illegal. But it's okay if nobody's there. So you just simply send people out, then it's legal to use suitcases full of ballots, run them through as many times as you want until you get the candidate you want. And that is all perfectly legal and acceptable to the mainstream media. Now, the U.S., the United States, the people of England, the people of France, Italy, the people, the workers, the taxpayers, the people that make the world go round so that the elite can have someone to feel superior to. We, the people, the citizens of our individual countries, we realized that when the United Nations said, it is our goal to cut poverty, worldwide poverty, in half within a decade. I don't remember what it was supposed to be, but I think it was like within 10 years or something. But within 3 years, they had cut poverty like by a third, by like 2/3, like far faster than they had originally set up. You have to ask yourself, well, why? How could they possibly do that? Well, here's why. If you've ever had the luxury, the pleasure of visiting the African continent, whether you went to Nigeria, whether you went to Libya, whether you went to Egypt, whether you went to New Guinea, Madagascar, wherever, it is quickly apparent that there is no money on the African continent. It is a very poor place. By Western standards, people live below the poverty line for the most part. There's a lot of kings in Africa. You know, if you want to be a king, if you've got a narcissism problem and you got $10,000 cash, just get on an airplane and go over to Africa, buy you a few acres, and the villagers will treat you like you're a king. Doesn't take much to be royalty on the African continent, which is very interesting that Bill Gates seems to love the African continent so much. So he can be King Bill. Now then, we the people, and that is not just the United States, that is we the people, the workers in North America, South America, Europe, Russia, we all had this awareness. We all woke up one day and said, hold on a damn minute. You know, my dad and my mom and my grandma and my grandpa, they worked and made shoes down at the factory by the river. And that's how we were able to buy a washer and dryer and an oven and a television. And I was always, that's what me and my new husband were going to do. We were going to work at the factories and have a good living and have insurance and raise up our children. And they were going to work there. It was going to get bigger and better each generation. Where did they go? Did everyone stop wearing shoes? No. So what happened to those jobs that your mom and your dad and your grandma and your grandpa had, those jobs that you were going to take when your grandparents retired? Where did those jobs go? Well, unfortunately, sadly, people did not stop wearing shoes. Your factory that used to be in the United States, or your factory that used to be in Germany or France, they're now in China. They tried to move the factories to Africa. Didn't work out very well because the way that they do business wasn't conducive to the way that Westerners do business. So it didn't work out. But China was only too happy to accommodate. Now, they had to put nets outside the windows where people were jumping to their deaths because they were working 56 hours a week, still living in poverty. But you were now able to go to Walmart and buy shoes for $5 that would have cost you $30 if they had been made in that factory on the Ohio River. The people that have benefited from this global self-actualized position that we are going to cut world poverty in half. It's not very hard to cut world poverty in half when 99% of the world's population is living on less than $1 a day. You move a factory into town, and now you pay them $2 a day. And even though you got all these people that are now without a job in the US or France or Germany, all those people now have no job. You're now cutting poverty in half by giving someone $2 a day instead of $1 a day. And the people that are really laughing and taking it to the bank are the business owners, the people that own the brand for that shoe. Kathy Lee Gifford became very wealthy in the quest to have poverty. She paid little kids $2 a day instead of $1 a day. She took jobs away from grown men and grown women making around $40,000 a year. Those people are now all homeless, but their misfortune living on the streets of Los Angeles doesn't show up in the macro numbers because Kathy Lee Gifford's company showed a great profit at the same time that poverty was reduced in her little Nike factories or purse factory. Nike did the same thing. Apple did the same thing. Everyone loses except for the masters of the universe. Everyone loses. We, the people, we lost. The people in China that are jumping to their deaths because they're exhausted, even though they're rolling in money by making $2 a day, they lost. Exploitation at its highest when your employer is giving you slave wages and installing nets, webs to catch you when you jump, suicide yourself, so that you can return to work another day to make them millions and billions of dollars. I am not misrepresenting this picture at all. I am presenting these conditions in the way that the news people should have been explaining it to us. They can talk big all day long about how they have reduced poverty by half. The reality of what they've done is they have dramatically expanded misery everywhere. Okay? Now then, this is why Donald Trump was elected. It wasn't only him. Okay, they had the same set of circumstances unfold in England. The people voted to leave the European Union. You want to know why? Let me give you another just simple explanation. This is only one little tiny factor. This was happening across the board in all commodities, every product, everything that Europe was England was trying to do. The fishing was a particular problem. The fishermen would go and catch the fish that were there off the coast of England. The people of England could no longer afford to purchase the fish that was bought right out their backyard or caught right off their backyard because the fish were sent to Europe and then it was distributed back to England. While the wealth of England was then transferred in this exchange of commodity, the wealth of England was being siphoned off into the EU and the unprincipled people of the World Bank that were getting immensely wealthy to a level that you and I could never understand. And they were patting themselves on the back because they cut the bread lines in Egypt in half. Instead of having to wait 4 hours for your daily bread, now you only have to wait 2 hours. And oh, aren't we great people? Look at us here. We are solving the world's poverty problem. Aren't we great people? And in the meantime, they are laughing all the way to the bank. This has been the most immoral, transfer of wealth ever witnessed in humankind, perhaps. Now, in the United States, we have been fortunate, and the majority of us live fairly by world standards. When you put our citizens against the citizens of the African continent, China, Middle East, our people, we live pretty well. Even the people of Appalachia, who are white people, this has nothing to do with race. The people of Appalachia, which could arguably, or maybe even inarguably, be said is probably the poorest area in this country, or even on this continent. Even they, by worldwide standards, are fairly well off than what people are living in Egypt and the rest of the African continent. You have to see it to believe it. So to the people sitting at the head of the spear, while they're telling themselves, look what great, good people we are, while they, live in mansions. Should we live in our mansion? Should we sleep in our mansion in New Jersey tonight? Or should we sleep in our mansion in New York? No, let's drive to Connecticut and sleep in our mansion that's in Connecticut. The sons of bitches have land and houses everywhere. Do you want to know who the number one owner of farmland is in the United States? It's not the U.S. government. Used to be. It's not anymore. You want to know who the number one owner, the greatest amount of farmland? Bill Gates. He is now he is the biggest farmer in the United States, and that son of a bitch probably couldn't manage to get an egg out of a chicken nest without getting bloody fingers. Why is it that you got a man like Bill Gates that everybody reveres as being so good? Oh, isn't he a good guy? Isn't he a great guy? He is going to Africa and he is vaccinating all those poor Africans for free and clear. He is such a philanthropist. Really? This son of a bitch has got enough money that he could end the poverty in this country within a month. That's the truth. Bring back our damn factories. Bring back our factories. Let our people go back to work. Let our people have lives of dignity. And then there will not be alcoholism and drug abuse rampant. There will not be domestic violence on the scale that we are seeing now. Our children will be loved and protected because there will be a family unit in place. We have been under attack and no one has even noticed because it was an attack in a way that was never considered. You end the family unit, you end the opportunity for dignified work, and you end it all. The American dream hinges upon those two things. It's gone. But what we don't know, what this whole MAGA thing has not accounted for, and what the journalists have fallen down on their moral mandate, is they haven't educated us to know what you have seen occur in the United States of America has occurred in France and Germany and Scotland. It's happened everywhere that there was a middle class. They did nothing to end poverty other than destroying the middle class. They simply took the resources of the middle class and siphoned it off to the countries that had the very, 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 very lowest end of accomplishment, the highest level of poverty. And if you only live on 5 cents a day and someone now puts $1 a day into your life, now the statistically, that looks like a damn success story. But the people with the money didn't do anything. They're still making their money because all they did was they picked up their factory that was in Hoboken, New Jersey, and set it down somewhere in Vietnam or China or wherever. You see my point? It's a shell game. It's a macro level shell game. And as long as they kept us all happy with our little $1,200 checks, occasionally they'd put up a candidate that said, "Ooh, I'm a Republican." In reality, they're not Republicans. Mitt Romney is not a conservative. Paul Ryan is not. John McCain did not once did John McCain benefit we the people. Not once. This has not only happened in the US, this has happened in Italy. It has happened in England with Brexit. And they voted, they said we want out of EU, and the powers that be said, oh, they didn't understand the issues. We got to have another vote. They had another vote. Guess what? They voted for Brexit. No. They still don't understand the issues. We got to have another vote. They kept on and kept on and kept on and kept on, thinking we'll be able to cheat our way and finally get a vote to stay in the EU, and then we'll be okay. But you want to know something? The people of the European Union, they won't be of England, they won't be sold out like some Americans. They refused it. They didn't help the tip of the spear cheat like some people in Pennsylvania did. People that, oh, look, I just happen to have a suitcase full of ballots at my house. Should I bring them to the election day? Oh, that'd be so helpful. Thank you. Of course. Here's your little $1,000. Ooh, I got $1,000 and I get to get Trump out of office. Yay, me. You sold out your children, your grandchildren. You sold it out. Our children, our kids will never have anything because there's this little nuisance thing called inflation. They are going to tax us to kingdom come to pay for $1.4 billion to reopen schools. Hold on a minute. The schools are already open, everyone. We don't need $1.4 billion. The schools are open. Our children are going to school. Now, the anger and the frustration and the fear that drove those people to that Capitol building, it is also in place in Italy. The same fear and the same anger and the same frustration is in England. It is in Germany. It is in Scotland and Switzerland. It is the collective middle class of the world. We see the writing on the wall. We see what they've done, but they did it while we were enjoying our good life. And now we can see we have no control. They have taken our governments from us. Except in this little place called Italy. Now then, it's quite interesting The when Trump won, you got the Brexit referendum that came out of England, and these things happened. And even with Barack Obama screaming gloom and doom that if you break up the globalist union, that then it's all going to go to hell in a handbasket. What happened to the world? We experienced an economic resurgence that had never been seen before. Even though you had the yellow shirts, you had people fighting back. You're at the same time that our jobs were being sent off to China, Vietnam, at the same time that was happening, England and Europe was watching helplessly as massive millions, hordes of poverty-stricken Middle Easterners were coming over the borders in waves. And they didn't come and assimilate. They just came over and began to rape little girls. The whole world has experienced what you have experienced in your own home and your little hometown. It wasn't just the USA. Now, it's very interesting to me as I read White and Case, or whitecase.com. The name of the publication is White and Case, but the website is whitecase.com. As I read this and read about the fight between the economic nationalism and populism, the supranational globalist, it becomes clear that while we may feel that the globalists have won based on the fact that Donald Trump was effectively removed from office, it looks like that may be a little premature. There is some movement in the rest of the world that looks like globalism has taken a big hit. Donald Trump and his Euro friends, they were up to something behind the scenes, because just as soon as he is now packed up and moved out of the White House, now you got King Globalist himself, Prime Minister Renzi, R-E-N-Z-I. Well, it would appear that Mr. Renzi no longer enjoys the influence that he previously had. You see, the people of Italy began to watch and say, hold on a damn minute. Wait. We're getting this money, and you want to do what with it? You want to take the money that is earmarked for Italy, for the Italian people, and you want to send it to other countries for vaccinations? But what about us? We don't have any jobs. We've been locked down. All the restaurants have gone out of business. You've killed the middle class in Italy, Renzi, with your little globalist friends. You've killed our jobs. We have nothing here. And now we got some money that's supposed to be coming to help the Italian people. But Renzi and his group of merry men, globalists, gluttons, well, don't you know, they got to worry about that whole, global poverty cut in half bullshit. So the Italian people pushed back. And these were elected officials. What we would rather have hoped that the U.S. officials would have done, that our elected officials would have backed our populist president. In Italy, the people did support the populism, the elected officials that were populist. They did look around and go, wait a minute, no, I'm done. I've had enough of the globalist bullshit. Italy is hurt. Italy per capita has experienced massive devastation with COVID deaths, far more than what the US has experienced. We have been beat the hell up. Our people have lost their jobs. Our small business owners have been wiped out. Our elderly have been killed. We have had enough. We need that money for Italians. And they fought back. And Prime Minister Renzi, not only did he resign, he took the entire group with him. They're gone. So while it looks like Italy's parliament, not parliament, their what do they call it? Their what would be our legislature? Can't think what it's called. While it looks like they are in trouble, failing, collapsing. Watch the news tonight; it'll say they're collapsing. No, looks like to me that the globalists have been run out of town on a rail, tarred and feathered, if you will. So, I think one of the biggest things that Trump did, I think what will go down in true history as being a positive thing that emerged from the Trump presidency, it's a little bit funny. He really did a lot for race relations. Think about it. It didn't matter anymore what color your skin was. What mattered was, are you an American or not? Do you want some American jobs? Do you want our American children to be educated in the schools of their choices? Do you want your university to enjoy funding? Donald Trump is the one. Obama didn't. Barack Obama, Joe Biden, they didn't secure like 10-year funding or 3-year, 10-year, 20-year funding for historically Black colleges. No. These poor people at the Black colleges, they were having to come beg for their money every like 3 years or something. And when they came to Donald Trump, a room full of Black people, if you will, African Americans, actually came to Donald Trump and said, we need your help. Here's the way it plays out. That's not what LSU has to do. University of Texas is not up here every year begging for their little bit of money from the federal government. But Black colleges, we're here begging all the time. Please, 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 we need money. We need money. We need money. Donald Trump is the one that changed it to give them 10-year funding or more. He helped race relations by treating traditionally African American colleges just like mainstream colleges are treated. Put them on an even playing field. Didn't make them different. Didn't make them special. Didn't make them have more power. None of that. Just put them on an even playing field. Treated them with dignity and respect. He did the same exact thing for inner city. Treated people with respect. And on the opposite side of it, whether it was liberal needs like higher education or some of the inner city problems, things like that, the same exact process took place on the conservative side. Nobody cared if you were African American. If you had the same beliefs that we did and you liked the things that Donald Trump had to say about being an American, then you were part of the movement. Can't say that MAGA is a white supremacy movement. Have you looked at the faces in the crowd? So it's kind of ironic that while the mainstream media, they leveraged a lot of control for uninformed voters by saying Donald Trump is a white supremacist, he hates Black people, or he hates people of color in general. The Hispanic people Latinos knew that wasn't true. They knew it wasn't true. African Americans knew that was bullshit. People that are informed. So it's ironic that what was one of the actual things that the mainstream media used to manipulate the uninformed voter actually is one of the most important uh, successes of the presidency, is how well it normalized race relations. It really it's a good thing, really. Um, are there dumbasses in the world? Of course there's dumbasses. Of course there's people that are longing for Hitler. Um, but that's a handful of people. That's not your mainstream. You're not people. You don't have mayors and governors and presidents of universities. You don't have people in those positions doing it. It's not tolerated. It's simply not tolerated. If I was in a store and I didn't know anyone there, and I heard one person talk down to another person based on something like their race or their age or their religion, maybe, I would just totally interject myself. I just wouldn't accept it. I just wouldn't. I would just be like, are you crazy? Don't treat people that way. And it's not because I'm a great person. It's because I'm a normal person. It's not good to hear other people be mistreated. It's not. But anyway, I got up on another tangent. So what we've experienced here has also been occurring in Europe and other continents across the planet. And while we are feeling very disturbed about the election, how it played out, and we're very frightened about the things that Biden is going to do to us, get ready. Your paycheck is fixing to go down dramatically. He's fixing to, the few of us that still have jobs, the taxes are going to be horrendous. And 2024, we'll have another election. And will we be able to win? Who knows? Depends on whether or not we're going to become a country of laws again. Are we going to follow our election laws? Oh, no. Or will we have another virus that's going to make it, oh, no, we don't have to follow laws. There's a virus, don't you know? Okay. Anyway. So Renzi is out. Renzi took all of his little globalist little friends with him. And the mainstream media will tell you that Italy is in political collapse. But I would say, take heart. When you see mainstream media get upset and freaked out, that means that one of the good guys just got a W. All right? So look to Italy. You can read, there are videos that are being made by Italian news outlets, Australian news outlets. You can see videos on YouTube talking about the political crisis. I'm using, that term loosely. Renzi abandoned the government because they refused to do his little globalist deeds. All right. So all is not lost. Also, one last thing. I look at the response that President Trump had for the virus. I think it was amazing. It is unbelievable that there were vaccinations that were made this quickly, and they only happened because, number one, the red tape was ripped off, and they were told, make it happen. We don't care. Make it happen. Number two, they were given unlimited financial resources to do what they needed to do research-wise. So the Trump administration 100% made that happen. The other thing that I think Trump did very, very well is the change in the law that people have a right to try. That if you are ill and there is a medication that may help you, you have the right to try it, even if the FDA is saying, well, we're not sure if it's really safe or not. Trump did that. He gave people a lot of hope by giving them access to medications, knowing this could be dangerous. Yeah, well, you know what? The disease I have, I know it's dangerous. I know it's going to kill me in a year. But with your new medicine, I may get lucky. I may get another 5 years. So you can thank Trump for right to try. Another thing you can thank Trump for is NASA. Elon Musk, my friend. Make me a liar. Trump supported Elon in SpaceX, and he got the funding to get NASA back up and running. It was Barack Obama and Joe Biden that shut it down and said, we are going to let China lead the way in space exploration. So that's who's back in the White House. We're going to make it China first. All right, everybody. Y'all have a great day. Yes, it was snarky. And yes, you now see and understand why I went under the name Politics. Y'all have a great day.